We're live.
Hello, welcome to ABW Radio. It's a win away from home. Oh my God. What's happening in the world, huh? Didn't have too many of these last season. Hello, everyone. Today, I'm joined by Dom, John, and Jace. How the devil are we all? Are you boys okay?
Yeah. Bright and early here, not afternoon. I wish it was afternoon, Jace.
Yeah, what time is it there?
5:30 a.m. kickoff it was, but it's 7:30-ish now.
Oh, Jesus wept. That's impressive. Quick shout out in the chat box, guys. Daz316 first in there. J Rob, Reese1237. Peter Kennelly's there. Stephen Edwards, Matt Roberts, and 235100. Oh, Archie's there. My 25 is there. Arkan Tiger's there. If I've missed you, sorry. Thunder Road is there. I tell you what, he's having it later. Grant Wilbon's there. How are we all? We all okay? My Aunt Nagendran's there as well. If I've missed you, I do apologize, but let's get on with it. First place to start, I'm going to start with you, John. Lineups. Özil in. Laka and Auba starting together. What do you think of that?
I was happy to see Aubameyang and Lacazette start together. I thought this is something we'd see from the start of the season, but it's taken a little bit longer. I think in these sort of games where, you expect us to win, or at least, put in a proper performance and dominate the ball, there's no reason to not play the both of them. They seem to really enjoy playing together. And for the most part, it worked today. There was a couple of, shaky moments as well, obviously, that maybe had something to do with the two of them playing. But really exciting. As for Özil, if he's fit, then fine, you put him back in the team. These are the sort of games he generally excels in. He was okay today. I didn't think he was amazing. I thought he was better second half.
I think you're being very kind. I think you're being very, very kind.
But overall team selection, I thought was fine. The only thing I wanted to see was Torreira come in for Guendouzi. That was the only thing for me that was missing off my sort of starting 11. There was, also the Özil thing, there was a question mark over whether you kept Mkhitaryan in the team just because he, the link up with him and Hector was quite good in the last game, especially down that right-hand side. So I think because of all the news and everything else and all the stories that's been going around about Emery and Özil and the bust-up, that's why Özil had to come in kind of to sort of quash that and get rid of that rumour. But otherwise, I was really happy, but mainly just pleased to see the two strikers getting a start together.
Okay. Jay, the game started off quite quickly, and from the off, we tried to play it from the back. They start to press ups. Socrates left Cech short a couple of times. It was harem scarum to start with, wasn't it?
Yeah. I was at the pub with the mates this morning, and to say that it was to steal the sort of Alex Ferguson squeaky bum time, because holy crap, and I sort of joked and said that, our defense and Petr Cech are actually just too good, and they try to test themselves more by giving all these sloppy passes back to them or playing it straight to their attackers at the edge of our box just to see if they can make up for it. And early on, luckily, we did make up for it, but holy heck, man! I mean, what's going on with Cech back there and some of his decision making?
Whoa. Let's straight. Cech was left short on a couple of occasions. I don't see you having a go at Socrates for leaving him short.
That's because you interrupted me and you didn't let me get my.
No.
You didn't.
Let's get some straight.
No, Jace. Don't. Let me get my thought out, and then we'll get to that point. I'm trying to make a point on Cech here. Let me get to the other defenders here. Stop interrupting me when I'm in the middle of a point to make something that I'm going to talk about later.
Get on with it then.
So Cech today, even when he had those passes played back to him, they were terrible. We're not. Nobody's denying that, Jace. Nobody's saying that the defenders didn't hang him out to dry. But he also had some poor decisions when he did have the ball at his feet and continuing to try to play it out short. He should have just booted it. That was the thing. And then, yes, our defenders have got to give him better service back if he's going to play short and then move out. That's what's got to happen.
Sorry, pal. Darren Hopkins has just dropped us a $5. Darren, thank you ever so much, mate. That is really, really appreciated.
Yes.
Thank you ever so much. Okay, so Dom, with regard to playing from the back, obviously this, everybody's having a pop at Cech, but he's never claimed to be a ball-playing goalkeeper. When does the time come to give Leno a go, who is a ball-playing goalkeeper? Because we can't keep on blaming a man who doesn't have the skill set when he keeps on being selected. It kind of doesn't make any sense. You've got a ball-playing keeper on the bench. When does he get a go?
I think we'll probably see it pretty soon. And I kind of agree with Shreds on the whole decision-making part of Petr Cech, that if, a goalkeeper of that experience should know his limitations. And if he does feel a little bit 50-50 about being hung out to dry, boot the ball. That I do expect Petr Cech to make better decisions when put under pressure. I think we'll see Leno get a go probably when the Europa League starts. I think that's probably going to be the first little introduction to see how he goes there. And I assume he's probably going to be with a bit of a B-side lineup in those games. So it's going to be difficult for him to come in and hit the ground running in terms of playing out from the back, because he's probably going to be playing with some people that aren't really getting much of a go right now. So that's going to be really interesting to watch.
Yeah, John, this is a really big issue. Yes, there were poor decisions from Cech. We know that. But, if you're going to play a guy without the skills to be able to play the style you want, aren't you just asking for trouble? Doesn't this come down to team selection to begin with?
Yes, it does. I think the thing with it is you saw a couple of times when Cech actually was quite good with his feet and passed it out fine and did okay. But there was, unfortunately, if the opposition team, as they did, not all through the game, but a couple of times really pressed us, particularly Harry Arter, who had a really good chance in the first half. If they do that and they can exploit the mistake that he made on that particular pass, and I think he did another one as well, then it does become an issue. I think the problem Emery's got at the moment is, he's still trying to work out his best 11. That's pretty clear. If you talk to fans, there's a lot of disagreement on that for a start. And I know obviously everyone's going to have their own opinions on it, but there isn't one big consensus for, quite a few positions. And when you're bedding in a new central defensive partnership, and you're also trying to get the midfield to cover as well, it's important to have that spine of the team consistent and try and keep them together for a long time. So I think this run of games was more about, if Cech makes mistakes, let it happen. It's going to happen, regardless. I think even if Leno was in goal, you probably see some of those errors as well. But it's about having the same players out on the pitch, particularly in defence and in goal, so they can get that communication and understanding better. Hasn't really worked, to be fair, so far, because our defence has been kind of all over the place. Not just the defenders' fault, it's been the midfield and players in front of them as well. But I think it's trying to keep that level of consistency and understanding between the players. I think Dom's right. You've got the international break now. Leno will probably come in. Maybe he'll play like Europa League games, and then they'll see how he does in that. And if he does well enough, maybe then he jumps ahead of Cech. But I do agree with what they both said. Cech is experienced enough that sometimes you just got to know when to go long. And he did that a few times today. But yeah, we were lucky we weren't punished more for some of the mistakes he made.
Yeah, thank God it was just Cardiff, right?
Well, yeah. A team that hadn't scored up until today.
Yeah.
Oh, do you know what? Okay, I'm just glad we won. There was a stick I was going to get. It was going to be unbelievable.
Well, I'd said this, for the chat box and everyone listening. I had one of my weird premonition dreams where Arsenal drew 2-2 today, which means that it was never going to be a 2-2 game, because every dream I have about football, I then go and put a bet on about it, and it never comes true. So we were safe. We definitely weren't getting a 2-2, so that was okay.
To be fair, I think we were lucky to get a win at times. It's strange. After the beginning, Jace, we started to dominate play. You saw Lacazette and Ramsey link up. Good save from Etherington.
Yeah.
We continued to pressure. Then we get a corner and the Mustafi goal. Xhaka, pinpoint corner. No mistake with a header. Fantastic goal.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, as bad as we want to talk about our defense, their defense was terrible because Mustafi just came out into acres of space on there and just put a bullet header past their keeper there. And good on Xhaka on finding the open spot there that they left in their zone to pick out. And that I think that's probably one of the main reasons why Mustafi is still in this side so much. I've been somewhat a defender of Mustafi. I know him and Socrates are having, they're feeling themselves out, defensively as a partnership. It's early in a new system, but he's always scored a couple of headers since he's been with us, and he's one of our better players off of set pieces like that in the box. I think that's probably one of the reasons why he keeps getting selected, and luckily it came off for him today, and just beautiful. Nothing they could have really done about it. Maybe put somebody, in front of the penalty spot, but even then, it was just such a great delivery by Xhaka, who, as much as I'm a Xhaka fanboy, and this, Jace, he was utterly one of the worst midfielders in the game today, if not the worst. I'll go ahead and say he was the worst midfielder in the match today. And but for him to put in a quality delivery like that and find the head of Mustafi, it definitely gave us hope, especially since we had a great run of play building up to that.
Yeah, the thing about Mustafi is everybody keeps on moaning about him. There's nobody else in this squad who's going to challenge him for a place. His display today was very good, to be fair. Okay, yes, I think the back four's got issues, but if anybody's looking at Mustafi thinking he should be dropped at the moment, you're off your heads. There's nobody. Mavropanos is nowhere near ready. Holding's form recently in the team into last season was very gammy. He's not as effective without Chambers. So who's going to win that place?
But it's not just the back four, though, is it, Jace? We allowed 14 shots at goal today. That's not just having a bad back four. It's much more than just picking on the two centre-backs when you allow 14 shots.
Exactly. This is the thing. Coming to you on this then, Dom, okay? Ward had a chance, poor defence, but again, we lack cohesiveness in midfield to be able to keep the ball at times and dominate and get back into effective positions to help. Talk to me about that.
So what I kind of see happening over the last few weeks is this really dangerous kind of play where we seem to be running back towards our own goal to defend. And I think anybody, like I've said this every show so far, because we keep letting teams do it to us. It would be nothing worse as a defender, as someone in a back four, you having to sprint back towards your own goal, trying to defend, looking over your shoulder, where are the runners, because you've pushed up really high expecting a press, but they're getting through our midfield so easily that you just have waves of attackers running at you. And, some of these teams, if it doesn't matter what defenders you've got back there, the speed and the movement of any of the forwards in the Premier League at the moment, you're going to look a little bit silly at times. So to allow 14 shots at your own goal, that says a lot more about the team ethos and the way the team's kind of going out to defend, or whether they're able to turn the ball over or not. Not so much just problems with your back four, John.
Yeah, today was an example of individual errors for some of the goal, like the chances we allowed. So Cech misplacing his pass, and Harriata has the shot and thankfully skies it over. Then you have collective team ones. The goals they scored, like the first one is misplaced pass from Xhaka, but then the play continues for another 30 seconds, and there's some individual errors in that, but then there's collective team ones as well. When we are playing a very high line. We were pressing correctly at times today, not always. We only did it in small spells. When we got it right, it was good, and we turned the ball over and kept the pressure up. But when we got it wrong, the gap from the sort of the four forwards to then the two midfielders and the defence was huge. And again, we saw the problem with fullbacks not having necessarily the best cover at times in games, and that space being exploited. It's annoying that we're going to keep saying this for probably large sections of the seasons, but it is stuff that is going to take time. But I do think there are players who aren't as capable of playing that today in that kind of system. Just come back on Shredder's point, I didn't actually think Xhaka was that bad today. I know his misplaced pass eventually led to the goal. I don't think that goal was all on him, but I actually thought Xhaka was quite good. Some of the balls he played in down for Monreal, the crosses he was putting in, that kind of thing, some of the tackles he made, and the cynical fouls that he was doing at the right time in the right places, I thought actually were really smart and intelligent. And actually thought it was Guendouzi next to him who let him down most of the time in the midfield. But there's a reason why. There's a reason why Granit Xhaka stayed on the pitch and Guendouzi came off. It's not because one's fitter than the other or anything else. It's because one was having a better influence on the game. There's a reason why in the Chelsea game when he came off, we lost control of the ball. And then you look at the West Ham game, he stayed on. And when Torreira came on, he had a better midfield partner and he performed better and impacted the game more.
That's the big issue. It's who you partner with them.
Yeah, I still think
I do wonder what the chat box or what people at home would be saying if Xhaka didn't make that horrendous error because that led directly to a goal.
Yeah.
I
would still say he was.
People would be slamming his performance overall.
Mm. I think the big thing with Xhaka was today, off the ball, he was poor. On the ball, he still made
tackles, he still made interceptions.
There were 3 or 4 moments where the effort he put in was pathetic, to be honest with you.
You could have said that of pretty much everyone on the team today, though, Jace, about being the oppositional running back. But he all gets Xhaka is one of those extreme hate figures who will get singled out in the same way that Ramsey was for a long time, in the same way that
John, think about me saying that he was poor today, and how many times have I defended him on here? And
but I think
I think today he was poor. There were times when he should have been there to break up attacks, and he wasn't there. And he had some good moments. Like, don't get me wrong, but his poor moments overshadowed anything good that he did because he was routinely out of place. There were times when you're right, he wasn't. He didn't allow that ball to go in, but he was the one who turned that ball over on a ball that was never on a ball that he never should have played. And I think that's why specifically he was good last week against West Ham. I really liked his performance. But just today, I just don't think he was there. And I think he has the biggest issue in this new system because he doesn't have the pace that we need to press, and he doesn't have that mobility, and his awareness, trying to get back is not good either. So he can't even make up for it in great positional play. And so it just leaves him exposed a lot of times to where he's either going to be really good in a moment or he's going to be really bad in a moment.
But that then comes down to his midfield partner, Guendouzi's got to be covering for him, which I don't think he did particularly well today, and was why he was hooked. I thought Guendouzi was quite poor today. But he's winning aerial duels. He's got 9 recoveries. He's tied for the most interceptions of anyone in the team. You can't tell me he's not doing his job. He's playing forward passes all the time. Yes, he made a mistake on that pass, and he shouldn't have played. That ball needs to be further up the pitch for Bellerin to run onto. I think the pass is on. He just doesn't do it, and he's got the ability to do that because we've seen it. He's got those balls in his locker. But
it's either poor execution, or poor vision on his part there. But let's get back.
It's poor execution. The space is there for Bellerin to run into.
But if you look at Xhaka off the ball, his mobility, on the ball. He does everything I expect him to. He does everything his skill set says, yes, this is what he's good at, okay? I thought on the ball, he had a decent game. But I thought off the ball, without there was the handball in the second half, late in the game, in a terrible position, where they've already scored off one set piece. It's Coco the Clown time from him. Okay, how stupid you have to be to do that, and his hands are out there looking for it. Okay, there's a challenge on the far corner, which, to be honest, the Cardiff player doesn't have to do anything to beat him. He just looks at him, and that's the issue where I don't see that part of his game improving at all, and it must improve for him to improve as a player, John.
I agree with that, but then you also have to take into account that not only is he covering central midfield in front of the 2 centre-backs, today he was trying to cover both fullbacks because, let's be honest, Mesut Özil gave Bellerin near enough 0 protection. Aubameyang did track back, but not all the time. So he's trying to cover both positions, and Guendouzi just wasn't in the game, I didn't think, today. So he's got a very hard job on his own. A lot of the game.
You're talking about a 19-year-old player and a seasoned international. But I don't care if you're.
You can't play.
you can't play central midfield on your own. I don't care how old you are, or how
No,
experienced you
absolutely.
are.
No,
And
no. But
okay, the kid's
that's
19, and I'm not. And like I've already said this, I will dig him out when he makes mistakes and he plays badly this season. I'm not going to pass judgment on his Arsenal career until he's had
Correct.
he plays this whole season. Then next season, then that's when, if he keeps messing things up, then I'll go for him. But you just let them, get on with it.
This is what I expect, a bit of leadership from Xhaka on the pitch to help as Guendouzi out. And I don't see that coming from him at the moment, okay? Again, we are early days in the season.
He was pointing and directing him around, but you can't then take control of the player next to him as well. He's got to do his own job whilst directing someone else.
It's not FIFA, is it, John? It's not FIFA.
Yeah, there you go. Exactly. It's not FIFA. He couldn't pull out the PlayStation controller out of his back pocket and stuff.
Okay,
I've the control with some of the stuff that they did today. But the thing with Xhaka, I find, is that if you look at his performance overall, maybe if you just look at the stats and don't watch the game, you go, oh, look, that's not bad. He made a lot of interceptions and ball recoveries and things like that, and his positioning was probably okay. But it's highlighted because he'll make these massive brain fart errors that lead basically to the opposition scoring and or getting a really good chance on goal. And it puts the whole defense under unnecessary pressure. And it's not happening, now and then. That kind of position where he is passing the ball forward a reasonable amount from back there, it's going to happen now and then. But it does seem to be happening at least once a game, maybe twice even. And that's when you're a player that's kind of polarizing opinion right now, every single little mistake that you make is going to get highlighted. Because, I mean, on the other end of things, I didn't think Aubameyang had a great game at all today. I thought he was missing just as much as what Ramsey was. And everyone in the chat box is highlighting how terrible Ramsey was. But Aubameyang really didn't offer us much, other than the fantastic goal that he scored, which is what you pay the big bucks for, because, you have somebody that gets one chance, finishes the shot, boom, there you go. So, a lot of the other aspects of his overall performance will get sort of forgotten about a little bit. But I just feel that sometimes with Xhaka, it's definitely these big, big mistakes, like Petr Cech did. And they're going to get highlighted because it's going to directly lead to a goal or a shot on goal.
Yeah.
Have we covered the Cardiff equalizer?
No.
Sorry,
No.
Right. Okay. So the Cardiff equalizer, guys, the Xhaka plays just the horrendous pass, turn the ball over, cross comes in. It's a lucky bounce, but Monreal was horrendous. Dom, we look at that. You look at it from the pass out through to Monreal's defending. Because we had everybody in the middle of the box covered. To be fair to us, it was car crash, wasn't it? It really was.
And again, this is the same thing I said on the last couple of weeks. When you concede a goal, it's usually because there are multiple mistakes in succession. If Xhaka makes that one mistake, but nobody makes another one, we probably get away with it. But what happens is he makes a mistake, Monreal makes a mistake, Petr Cech probably, I don't know. It's hard, but there's just multiple mistakes in a row that usually are going to lead to a goal. And that's basically what happened today. So that's the car crash defending you're talking about. It's just one error after another. And, at that level, even Cardiff that hadn't scored a goal all season, I mean, you can't do it.
To be fair, it was a good finish from Camarasso, but he didn't have to work hard for that. Cech has no hope. But they've been coming back into the game, whereas we had been sort of dominating the game up to that point. They'd come back into it. I think I asked you in the chat box, am I being harsh, or is Özil going through the motions? He had very little effect on that first half. There's very little of anything positive from him. And we seemed again to be playing the 10 men going backwards. So what do you put that down to?
I don't think Özil was involved enough at all in the first half. Second half, he improved and he seeked to get the ball a little bit more. I don't think he was hiding or anything in the first half, but he's clearly not happy playing on that right-hand side. It's obvious he doesn't want to play there. He wants to play in the middle. And Ramsey was ostensibly a 10 today, but he wasn't exactly playing there. I thought Ramsey was okay first half and was carrying the ball, getting it in dangerous areas, picking out passes, that kind of thing. But in the end, didn't do enough with it. The issue is once you put Özil out in that wide position, he wants to naturally drift inside, and the space is already taken up. You've got Aubameyang the other side, who also obviously wants to come inside. It makes it very congested. So Özil has to go somewhere else to find space, and it just, I'm not sure you're ever going to get the best out of him in this system and putting him there. And it also causes a problem going back as well, because I did think, first half defensively, he just wasn't in the game. He wasn't tracking, he wasn't covering Hector at all. You saw, how Hector was brilliant in the West Ham game, wasn't he? He was like one of our best outlets. He was getting forward, bombing on. He was getting to the byline, pulling the ball back, that kind of thing. He did it in the Chelsea game as well. And him and Mkhitaryan were clearly, it was early days, but they were getting some understanding, and he had an option. He wasn't always, I've got to turn back with the ball or just got to push it inside. He always had someone in front of him, and he didn't have that today. And I don't know. It was so frustrating for me because we all know how good a player he is and how good he can be. But this is the sort of game where he should be, get the ball in the middle, ping it somewhere, go and get it back quick, 1-2s, all this kind of thing, open teams up. And, Cardiff weren't exactly like sitting back defending deep. I kind of expected them to have all the men behind the ball, but they were pressing quite high at times. Their midfield was at times quite high up the pitch and a bit detached from the defence. So it wasn't like there wasn't space there for him. And I just thought overall he was really disappointing in the first half. But
he wasn't much better in the second half.
He did improve second half, but it's just frustrating when you see him because I probably criticise him higher than any other player, partly because of his, he's the highest paid player at the club, but because we know he's the best player in the team when he wants to be. And I think that you get both sides of it. So if he's really good, his pass or his assist or his goal or whatever gets way blown out of proportion, overhyped. Yeah. It was the goal last season in the Europa League. I can't remember the name of the team, but he flicks it over a defender's head and feints past another one.
Oh, you're talking about Ludogorets in Champions League.
Yeah. Oh, that was it. Yeah. So it's a lovely goal. It's great, lovely bit of skill and everything else. But it's Ludogorets. They're not the best team in the world. They're not well beaters. So, but the goal gets blown way out of proportion. But then he has an average performance where he probably wasn't particularly any worse than most of our other midfielders today, if we're honest. But because it's Mesut Özil, he gets absolutely slammed for it and slated because so much more is expected of him. Do you know what I mean?
I get that. Jay, coming on to that, and this is the problem I have with Mesut Özil today, was there was a patch in the second half where he dropped deep, he started picking up the ball, he looked as if he was really going to start to influence the game. I was getting all excited because I thought, right, he's going to come in now, start creating, start putting people in the right, the ball in the right places and ball for people to run onto and really grab the game by the scruff of the neck. And it fizzled out very quickly. I can't think of a chance he created. And I can't think of a really positive thing he did in the game.
So
am I wrong?
He had the second assist on the Aubameyang goal. I mean, he was the one who played in Lacazette to play that flick off. So I think there are definitely times when he's going to try to put the ball, especially when we have the ball in the attacking third, he's going to play the more risky pass that may not come off always. And we're going to think like, oh, he's not having any influence, but he's attempting something that probably no other player on the pitch is even going to attempt at times. So I think it may be a little harsh.
Sorry, but I didn't see that today. You talk about that.
I think you're looking at it through sort of tinted glasses then, because I think he did try to do that at times, and was it consistent like he's done in the past? No, it wasn't. It hadn't been, and I think the system shift and everything, maybe he's still trying to figure out what his role is in this system and where he needs to be. We did see a little more positive play from him in the second half, but I like John said, everything he does is going to be over magnified, good or bad. The problem is today he was an average midfielder in an average midfield who did average things. and for us to continue to harp out on him, and Ramsey was just as bang average as he was today.
Ramsey created 3 chances. Ramsey created 3 chances today.
And Mesut Özil had a second assist.
So does Ramsey.
So he was. That's got to be more positive.
Chances, and he creates a chance for Mesut Özil, which he doesn't even really have a go at. And this is my
fine.
problem.
I still,
if you're the highest paid player in the team, if you're the icing on the cake, as people call him, and yet you really don't contribute much, there is an issue. And I think that's, if you're demanding high wages, etc., in exactly the same way as Aaron Ramsey is negotiating at the moment, you need to actually deliver. The second assist, that was all, let's be honest, that's all about Lacazette, that is, okay? Not about Mesut Özil. And I just didn't see it.
Jace, why are you trying to take credit away from him just to try to prove your own point, though?
No,
you can't do that. You can't say, "Oh, no."
That's your problem, Jace.
Ramsey's second assist counts, but Ozil's doesn't because
and if it was Özil in the same position, and last year Özil and Sanchez did the same thing to the club, and you wanted them out because they couldn't care about the club and they're not putting the club first. Aaron Ramsey does it, and go and get more money, son. Like you've got this double standard with other players, and specifically Özil now because he is the highest paid. And Ramsey, and the fact is you're trying to find things to poke Özil about as opposed to Ramsey. And don't get me wrong, our midfield today, Özil was not great, Ramsey was not great, Guendouzi was not great. The only midfielder that had a above average game today was Torreira when he came on. And to call it any other way, Jace, is completely agenda driven. And we know that's not who you are.
I didn't call it agenda driven. I just think Mesut Özil went through the motions today. There were a couple of one-on-ones in the first half where he couldn't even be asked taking on the player. I genuinely.
Okay, I've got a question. I've got a question for John then about the midfield in particular, because it seems to be the biggest. Again, still after last season, our biggest issue is trying to get some kind of solidity and/or connection there. But for that goal in particular, it was nice to see our 3, best/highest. Transfers link up together so well to score that goal. So that's something that we need to, give credit for, that those 3 players who we've been talking about trying to get in the team together did produce in that moment. So, this is still a team in transition. It's still a team that I just feel like at the moment we're in this state of affairs, all over the place with social media and everybody being able to have an opinion, people like us just sitting on here talking, that everything is just sound bites and quick, and there's no patience anymore. And if you're not doing something for me amazing tomorrow, then I don't want to hear from you. And that's just not the reality that we're going to have to deal with. The reality is that this is going to take time, and that there are going to be weeks upon weeks coming up of trial and error, of figuring out who works together and who doesn't. And even Emery himself will start to adapt his own style based on what he starts to see in the Premier League. And it's going to take time whether we like it or not. The worrying thing for me is the individual errors that led to goals for us last season still seem to be there at the moment. And that's the big worry, because I think last season we conceded the most goals from direct errors, and it looks like so far we're probably leading that chart again. But John, how long do you, because people are starting to say, why are we playing out from the back, it's ridiculous, but how long, or it doesn't work, but how long until it should start to work? Because it's not going to work within 3, 4, 5 weeks, is it?
How long? It might not be till the tail end of the season. I know we said this a couple of times. Look at Man City when Pep came in his first season. He had Bravo in goal, not Edison, who everyone is now laughing at and saying he's a complete joke, but I don't think he's that bad a goalkeeper. They played out for the back and they got absolutely slaughtered for it. Because they were saying, you can't play this football, you can't play this style of football in the Premier League. Well, I mean, you clearly can, but it took him near enough a whole season to get it right. And, whether people agree with me or not, I think Man City have got better players than us, not just in the forward positions, but I do think defensively as well. So that's going to take time. There's going to be games where you can't do that. You have to go long. The team presses you in a way that doesn't allow you to play out from the back. So I think of teams like Tottenham and Liverpool have that very high press and try and force you to go long so that they can win the ball back quickly. And yeah, you have to adapt for that from game to game. So I'm not expecting miracles in terms of that from the back. I do think there will come a point where I'm not sure you can play Ramsey, Özil, Aubameyang, and Lacazette in the same team with that formation at the moment.
And that's what I was going to get to as well.
Yeah,
is
I think if
Ramsey's
you
not
want,
a 10, it's just not going to work because
if you want them all, you either have to sacrifice what Ramsey gives you through the middle and say, remember that season where you played out on the right hand side and you didn't particularly like it, but you still got goals and assists. You're gonna have to play out there for us, which then means you're sacrificing huge amounts of width again because Aubameyang's going to be coming one side, Ramsey is the other. Although I did think, he did try and run out wide when he could today. Or you put him in central midfield next to Torreira, maybe. See how that works, and then you put Özil at 10.
Yeah, that diamond midfield.
Yeah, and that is maybe the only way you're going to get it functionally to work. Because I think if you have Ramsey at 10, which I don't think is bad, you don't get the best out of him clearly. But I do agree with what Jace said, that he did create chances today. He clearly did, and he made some good runs and stretched the defense and stuff. But I don't think you get the best out of him. You clearly don't get the best out of Özil playing on the right hand side. But you're going to have to take time to tinker with this, because even me saying that, it's fine me saying that and having that opinion because you watch today's game and go, well, it clearly didn't work. But the guys are still learning the system and learning how the manager wants them to press and how to play out from the back and what positions they should be in and that kind of thing. So it may be a case that in a couple of months' time, Emery works it all out and actually manages to get Özil and Ramsey and Aubameyang in the team in those positions they are right now as the three behind Lacazette, and it works fine, But all of that takes time. I just don't think at the moment you can ask those three to play those positions at the same time. I just don't think it works.
Genuinely don't understand why he's playing him so high, because he's not as effective from there, and regardless of trading chances, etc. You as Dom always says about that engine, you want that coming from deeper, because that's when it really works.
I think it's because his work rate is so good that he closes so quickly from the front. Which
it's got to be part of the pressing or something.
Yeah. You're not going to get that from Özil playing at 10. I'm not saying Özil doesn't work hard, because he does work hard, and we know that. You can look at his running stats and the distance he covers in games and his sprints and stuff. But I think the closing down that Ramsey does and the pressure he puts on the ball is why he's playing so high up the pitch at the moment. Because I know, and we don't get me wrong, we didn't do it all today. We didn't press it every single occasion, but we only did it in little spurts. But when we did,
we're going to talk about the press.
We were forcing errors, and whether it was Ramsey turning over the ball or forcing Cardiff into an error so Xhaka or Guendouzi or someone could pick up the ball, higher up the pitch, that was working. But it was only in small sections. But I think that's why Ramsey's playing so high up.
Because it kind of reminds me of Coquelin. I get why you're trying to play him up there, but if you're losing his effectiveness, maybe the manager that makes this work, who knows? But it confuses me at times. But there you go. Dom, I'm going to come back to you on this, because one of the guys who's had a bit of stick recently, Hector, he picks up a yellow card in the second half, and it was this third cynical foul in the game. And I think a lot of this goes unnoticed. People say he can't defend, he can't do this. But I thought Hector today was really smart off the ball with some of his defending, okay? And it's something that he doesn't get any credit for. But when he picked up that yellow card, Anthony Taylor's pointing at 3 different areas in the pitch. He did it there, and there. And he's taking players off the ball. What do you think of Hector's performance today?
He's slowly improving over the weeks, I think, defensively, because we spoke earlier in the show about offensively against West Ham. I thought he was our best outlet, and he against Chelsea as well. He was behind all of our overlapping and creating some of those chances that unfortunately it was Mkhitaryan and Lacazette skied over the bar, but that was all him. But obviously, as your right back, you want his defending to probably be his bread and butter. And that has been the knock that we've probably given him on this show, is that he could be a little bit better one-on-one and start to learn the positioning. And And hopefully now with a different system, a different manager, different training, all that kind of stuff, maybe he's getting a little bit more help. We've just got some more money, Jace. Is this going to cheer you up this time, or are you still going to be a grumpy shit for the rest of the show?
Funny. Yvonne, you need to stop. You always giving us money, Yvonne. Yvonne Kofa gives us a £5 again. I can't believe this. It's fantastic.
Happy birthday too.
Happy birthday. You're an absolute legend. You are a wonderful lady. Thank you very much. But stop. You don't need to give us all this money. You're bonkers. Thank you ever so much. But you're nuts. 3 cheers for everyone. Go on. Bip.
Hooray.
Hooray.
I was muted. Hooray. Hooray.
All right. Hector, back to Hector. But I agree, Jace. I think that he's starting to learn some of those, what would you call it, the dark arts, I guess, and they're really important. And we've been harping on about this for years, about why don't we give away those cynical ones? Why don't we, learn game management and start to do that kind of stuff? And for whatever reason, we just had never done it. But Xhaka did it today. Bellerin did it today. I think even Özil did it today. There was just a lot of players that starting to kind of, it was Socrates last week as well, gave away a really, really good one in a dangerous position. So, yeah, I think that he did improve his defending today. And let's be honest, it's not like he was getting a whole lot of help on that right-hand side. And he hasn't really been getting a whole lot of help on the right-hand side for most of the season. One thing I did notice this week was that both Guendouzi and Xhaka were a little bit better at getting across to help out, because there was once where Hector was basically right on the touchline bombing forward to create an opportunity. He cuts it back, it gets cut out, and I thought, uh-oh, here we go. I don't care if you're Usain Bolt, you're not going to get back from that position to help. And they got the ball down that side to attack, and then Guendouzi was over there. I know it was both Guendouzi and Xhaka had kind of drifted over there into that hole to help out. And that's been something that we've criticized over the last couple of weeks. So just a little positive to see that side of the game potentially starting to improve, because we've been getting skinned down our flanks by teams, especially, the first few weeks. So it was good to see.
Yeah, it was. Jay, Mustafi has a header saved. Monreal has a shot saved. Xhaka has a shot. And then Aubameyang's goal. Nice assist from Lacazette, but it was a fabulous finish, wasn't it?
Yeah, just to go back to the Lacazette assist, I turned to my pal in the pub and was like, that's the speed of turn and flick that Giroud wanted, but he never had the speed on, because it was just such a Giroud-esque sort of flick over to Aubin. Aubameyang, almost no space. He only had a yard for a shot, and he took the shot. And what a lovely curler, just into the corner there. Absolutely beautiful. And that's, I think that's why even when he has poor matches, sort of probably similar with Özil, is even when he has poor matches, that's why you keep leaving him in, because they can create moments like that. They can have just that, in a game where they're not playing their best, or they're not having the sort of the best time about it, they can still create that little bit of magic that can completely turn things around. And happy to see him, happy to finally break his duck for the year as well. I know that had sort of started to become a talking point, and fans were probably going to start to get on him, knowing how awful we were at that. But yeah, no, absolutely wonderful. And you go back and you look at the slow-mos, and he had no space. I mean, just absolutely, he had to put it exactly where it went for it to go in and for it to get past the defender. And it was just absolutely brilliant from him. And that's why he's in the team week in and week out.
Yeah, to be fair, it was, I thought it was a wonderful finish, and he'd had a tough game. I don't think he'd been as bright as, he likes to be normally. We didn't get to use his pace really today, but he came in, and that was fantastic. John, not long later, there's a free kick. Arta buys a free kick, because the replay showed he doesn't get touched by Lacazette, wins a free kick and the Ward goal. It was a bag of crap, wasn't it? It really was.
Yeah, I didn't understand why Ramsey was picking up. I'm just looking up the name of the fella now. Morrison.
Yeah.
The
He's
Cardiff
a
captain.
monster.
He's a big lump, and every cross, like every corner, every free kick they had was all targeted at him, and he was winning all the headers. He wasn't doing a lot with them, but he was winning them. Some of them he got knocked down and stuff. So I didn't get why Ramsey was on him. That didn't seem to make any sense to me. I would have thought, with the scouting and the video and all that stuff that we do, that you would think from set pieces, okay, this is their target man who they look to hit. We'll put Socrates or Mustafi or someone on him. One of our clearly our two best aerial defenders. But he gets the jump on Ramsey. So individual error from Ramsey, I guess you can put it down as. I don't think Ramsey should be. I mean, it is really. He doesn't win his header. But I don't think he should be. I don't think he should be marking him in the first place. That
The
for me
guy's
is,
2 foot taller than him.
yeah, that's that really didn't make any sense whatsoever. But then you've got to give some credit to Ward, because the header he put, that was brilliant. Again, he should be being picked up better, but he's not. We don't react to the first header quick enough, but his finish is superb. Cech can't do anything about it. It's really, really well placed. He gets some real power on it. But I do not understand why Ramsey's marking Morrison. That makes no sense to me whatsoever. That would, that's the sort of thing. You have Socrates or you have Mustafi marking him. If we still have Giroud in the team, he should be marking him. Something like that. It's bizarre. That would be like putting Mkhitaryan against Andy Carroll if we were playing West Ham or something. It's really weird. I don't get that at all.
I think it just points to, we haven't sorted out our defensive issues at all as of yet.
Yeah.
I do think we've got to give Cardiff some credit for that, because that was definitely a set play and a very well worked goal.
Yeah,
it wasn't like the first goal, was it? Let's be honest. Like when that second one went in, I was kind of like, yeah, right, But that first one, I was like, oh, for God's sake, here we go again, because of all the shitty defending. But the second one, it wasn't a huge comedy of errors. I didn't think. I thought it was actually a pretty well worked set piece by Cardiff, and they nearly did it again later on in the game.
I think that from set pieces all game, Morrison in particular was getting his head on absolutely everything and winning near enough every ball, and they didn't adjust. At no point during the game did we adjust who was marking him or anything like that. And again, this is one of those, against a better team, we concede more goals today and we maybe only come away with a point or maybe even lose, because even at the end of the game we're still giving away chances of free kicks.
But this is the big issue here now, okay? If, for argument's sake, you bring Socrates in for his knowledge, defensive know-how, etc., Mustafi as well on this, okay? Why isn't one of them turning around saying, I've got him? I've got him.
Again, this is the thing. This is the thing we don't know. Has Emery said, right, because from all our set pieces today, we had a mix of zonal and man marking. Some players were being man marked, and the rest of it looked zonal to me anyway. So was it that, okay, Mustafi and Socrates, you're in the zonal bit, and you're the ones because you are the most defensively aware, and I want you to pick up those sort of runs and everything else. And then, Ramsey, you're on this player, you're on that player, or you are covering this position, so you take this one man who takes up that spot kind of thing. Is the manager, because we're not aware of this yet, is the manager saying, this is how I want you to defend, do not adjust or whatever? Now, I agree with you, Jace. As a defender on the pitch, sometimes you have to overrule what the manager's doing and say, no, this isn't working, clearly. But, did they at any point have a word? Because I saw Socrates twice go over to Emery and have a word with him. When there was a break in play or anything. So at that point, is he saying to him, I want to change something here, I want to readjust something? Because they were clearly talking about tactics, because they were, Emery's doing all his finger point. He was very good with this today. He was doing the old Rafa. I don't know what that thing means, but they all love it, the Spanish managers anyway. But yeah, I don't know exactly what they were talking about, but I assume some of it was the defensive thing. So maybe it is Emery saying, no, stick with this. This is what we've worked on in training. So I don't want to lump all the blame on the defenders themselves.
Yeah, I just found it a bit frustrating because you look at that, you knew where the ball, as soon as they put the ball down for the free kick,
you knew it was coming,
knew where it was going there. You knew it was going. Okay, and yet we don't do anything. We were either cleaning out very nicely. There were a couple of free corners, where they didn't get a man near it, and we cleaned out okay. But at times, I think, especially from a free kick position rather than a corner, we looked like Bambi on ice, which doesn't sit well with me. Jay, Mustafi had an effort, which was a really good save down at his Etherington let the ball go. Yeah. Mustafi went in for it. To be fair, Sol Bamba, he protected Mustafi from Arta as he came up. There was nothing wrong with it. Good save. We were dominating the game at that point. We were on top. We were controlling possession. And then we get the Lacazette goal. Ramsey to Torreira, nice ball through to Lacazette. And then, oh my God, what a finish.
You can describe the middle skills.
Yes. You sound like a Dalek, mate. You sound like a Dalek. Sort your thing out. Try again.
He's going on full robot on us.
No. Am I still body?
Yeah.
You're full robot, pal. Dom, you take over that then, please, while Jay sorts his sound out. It was a hell of a finish, wasn't it?
Yeah. Every now and then you're watching a game and, a player does something and you kind of yell out loud without, realizing that you've yelled out loud. That was one of those moments for me, even though that it was 5:30 a.m. I probably woke up half the house, but the little pass in, it might look like it was just a really straightforward, simple pass by Torreira, but it was actually, when they sort of showed the replay, he timed that perfectly and just waited for the defender to make that little movement to kind of give him that lane to pass into. A perfect one touch from Lacazette, spin, and just that fox in the box kind of finish that, again, we've been crying out for a long time, that player that's got the ability just to swing around, know where the goal is and just leather it into the back of the net. And same thing, if you look at the scorers today, we had, Mustafi, which was great. I think that was a really well worked goal and a great finish. And he's always threatening to do that. And then the next two goals are from our two highest paid strikers. So you can't really ask for much more. And again, just in terms of attacking play, last week we had, I think, 14 shots on goal. This week we created about 17 shots at goal. And that was a one thing that we really struggled with last year, even under Arsene Wenger, with all this, the free-flowing attacking football that we're known for. We were going 60, 70, 80 minutes into games without managing to get a shot on target. So that side of things, to me, in my eyes, has definitely been an improvement. Even against the Man Cities and Chelseas, we did manage to create opportunities. I felt the passing in general today was a lot more crisp and they weren't making as many basic errors. So that's coming along nicely. And I think that there was a couple of passing moves. Do you remember the one where Bellerin, there was just a lot of really good one-touch play and it ended up with Bellerin crossing the ball in and it didn't quite come off? I remember thinking to myself at that point that if this team can start to click that little bit more and we start to finish off those types of moves, that's probably the Arsenal that Emery's trying to build. And that looks positive because that looks exciting.
The really positive part of that was you had Ramsey wasn't too far away with it. There was somebody else behind.
Yeah.
That was a well-worked build-up play. A very good cross, just, a whisker away, really. And that is nice to see. But I just want to go back to this finish from Lacazette. Pinpoint bullet. And I thought his performance deserved that today. He had the assist for Aubameyang, but he deserved that goal because I thought the way he brought other players into play, he's gone out there. He's been starting from the bench. And when he's had his opportunities, come on and he's put on a really good performance. Now, chat box, talking of performances, be like Lacazette. Give me my likes, please. Come on, let's get going. I've got 213 people watching and I've only got 78 likes. Are you taking the piss? Are you taking the piss? Me and Shreds are arguing today for you. Let's get going. You know, I'd be stirring the pot and nobody's biting that well. Let's get going. Likes, please. Let's go. 100 now, please. Come on, chop, chop. Tappy, tappy. Let's get going. Jay, you back with us?
Am I back with you? I don't know.
You are.
Good.
Okay, so then
with all the arguing, my computer's getting so hot, just like these takes today.
I won't go that far, mate.
Should we get the chat box to throw some questions at us, Jace? Should we do that?
We're gonna go in there now. There's a couple of things. We have Morrison miss. We Xhaka giving away the free kick, which I really was annoyed him about, and the game petered out. So we're gonna go to questions in a minute. But yeah, let's go. Come on, let's get my likes up. 91. That's not 100, is it? It's not 100. So what are you doing? If you're listening on any other platform other than YouTube, and you want to be part of the chat box, like the YouTube channel, click on the bell notification and you'll be notified whenever we're going live. The chat box is brilliant. Half of them are bonkers, half of them are lunatics, half of them are brilliant. And
half of us are lunatics.
That's a lot of halves, Jace.
Yeah, we're a bit like a couple of charts, I know. You know what I'm trying to say.
That's Welsh maths, that is.
Yeah.
Welsh maths says, okay, right, 100 people vote for man of the match. They all vote for Lacazette, and we give it to Aaron Ramsey. Oh, you got a good one. I'm going to straight to this one from Joshua Page. And I'm actually going to go, Jay, I'm coming back to you because you went all Dalek on us. Mm-hmm. How long before Torreira starts?
It's really hard to say because you would think with the performances he has been putting in and what he's been bringing to the teams off the bench late in matches, we thought it would be done already now. I think this is probably, this is the change we wanted. We wanted somebody who wasn't going to play the same players every week, and we wanted somebody who would maybe keep us guessing. I think we're over that part of it now. We're like, all right, we know who should play, just play that. So I don't know. Everybody has always said, it's the next game. He's got to start. Next game. Cool. Let's go. And he hasn't. So I do think he needs to start the next game, but I don't know. We've got an international break coming up. So it'll be interesting to see what Emery does, but I would love to see him start the next match for us, but I don't know exactly what Emery is sort of keeping him on the bench for so long for. Maybe it's just he thinks he needs to become more acclimatized to the league or whatever. But I hopefully when we get back from the international break, I think we've got Newcastle and then straight after that Ukrainian team in Europa League. So probably one of those matches we'll see him start in.
Okay, I'm going to play devil's advocate in this, and I'm going to come to John, okay? John, I don't think Torreira's actually earned the right to start yet. I think Guendouzi's performances so far, even though not as effective as maybe he could have been today, but I thought Torreira coming on against Chelsea, he was rubbish. And that's going to happen. As we're setting up this new system, it's not being detrimental to the boy because it's a tough ask. But has he earned the right to start, in your opinion?
Yes, I think he has. In the Chelsea game, he came on and he didn't track his man, which was obviously an issue, and it led to a goal. I don't think he was the only one at fault for that goal. Who was it? Alonso? Yeah, it was the Alonso goal, wasn't it? But I thought other than that in the game, he cut out passes. He made very good forward passes. He was sensible on the ball. He didn't really dawdle on it. I thought today when he came on, it looked very good. He got the assist for the Lacazette goal. Again, was in the passing lanes at the right time, was tracking back, putting some good tackles, won some good fouls as well. And this is the reason why I put him in at the moment. I'm not saying he's been amazing. Don't get me wrong. He's better. He's a better player than what we've seen so far. But Guendouzi for me he's an exciting prospect, and I think he's clearly got ability, but he's also a liability. I think he gives the ball away in stupid areas. I think he gives away needless fouls at times. I don't have a problem with cynical fouls, like the one where he pulled the guy down who was running past him. That's fine. The issue, I don't have a problem with him getting the yellow card for that. Makes sense. But the issue is that he's not aware that a guy's about to run past him, and he doesn't realise until it's too late. You should already be aware of it and be ahead of him on that run. I think he's got bad decision making, but I think all of those things are an age thing that he will learn from. So for me, I think every time Torreira's come on, we look more comfortable. Every time he's played with Xhaka, Xhaka's looked better. Xhaka clearly is going to play pretty much every game, it seems. He's going to start whether people like it or not. So I'd give him the run out. The only thing I'm thinking at the moment is perhaps he is waiting until the Europa League, and Torreira is going to be the. It's weird to say senior player when you're 21 years old, but he is essentially the experienced midfielder, maybe with some youngsters around him. I'm not sure.
Okay. There you go. I think a bit harsh on Guendouzi there, really do. There's a question from Frank Gunner. How long for a shout out? It's now, Frank. You get a shout out, Frank. You, Yvonne, and Darren. Oh, I love it all, especially Yvonne and Darren. Yeah, what can you say about them? Dom, here we go. Rambo's picked up a little bit of stick today across the formats. So, did Ramsey play today? Completely anonymous. He is leaving, so he's clearly leaving. So, should we drop him completely?
I don't know why anyone thinks he's clearly leaving. I think most of the signs would point towards that he's probably going to re-sign, but that's kind of irrelevant. If anyone, even when it was Alexis, anyone that's putting on the shirt that's getting paid to go out there, they're professional players. He's not going to go out there and not put in a performance or not try. And that's one thing that I can't ever criticize Ramsey of, whether he has a good day or not. He's always running around, making space, trying to give an option, trying to be in a position to get the ball. And anyone that doesn't agree with that, just go back and watch the game. Please go back and watch the game and just watch how he moves to ask for the ball. Now, whether he does anything with it or not, whether he's managing to get into the positions or whether he is effective or not, that's a different story. But one thing I can't ever criticize him for is he never ever hides. So I mean, that aspect of the game is that there's not a reason to drop the guy.
He created 3 chances today as well.
Yeah. In saying that, though, I don't think he was poor. Like, Xhaka giving away the ball is poor. I don't know that there are many moments in the game today that you could look at Ramsey and sort of be like, you were poor for large parts of the game. I just don't think he was as effective as if he was playing centrally, a little bit deeper. We saw Mesut Özil dropping deep to pick the ball up. That's what I want to see Ramsey doing. Yeah. And I don't think it's anything to do with Ramsey. I think it's more to do with the system and what he's being asked to do, because we've seen it the last few weeks. And Emery's not the kind of guy like Arsene Wenger that we can sit here and go, well, Arsene's just letting him do it, because Emery's not that kind of manager. So I have a feeling that Ramsey's doing exactly what Emery wants him to do. I just don't think that Ramsey's as effective at doing that as he is as if he was sitting a bit deeper, because going back to what John's saying about Guendouzi, I would prefer Ramsey in that role. I think Ramsey can do all of the things that Guendouzi's doing, but better. And then you're allowing Özil to sit at the 10 spot, which we saw in the second half. Probably it wasn't the full half, but for me it was sort of 55, 60 minutes onwards when Özil really started to get involved in the game, and it almost looked like Ramsey was pushed out right a little bit to do that. And that's just the part of the balance and part of the skill set that I think that isn't quite working out with Ramsey right now, because every single game that he plays where he's played well, it's from a central position, not further up the pitch.
Can I come in? Sorry, just one thing on this, Jay. It's just the one.
I just want to give credit to the question. The question comes from @Strondry14 on Twitter. I do apologize. I didn't credit him. Go, Jay. Go.
Yeah. No, I the one thing I feel the Ramsey in the way he's deployed in this team is my one worry with Emery right now. Is I don't understand how you can watch Arsenal matches and look at the way the players were set up in the past and not think that the best way to utilize Ramsey is from a deeper role. And that's my only sort of knock that I'll have. It's very early on for Emery. I get that. And so I'm still going to give him I'm going to give him through Christmas to really sort of get this worked out. But you've said it, Jace. Dom just said it. I think we all agree is his best role is coming from deep. His best role is getting the ball forward and then making that late run to the box for those cutbacks that we're playing now. Imagine if he had been playing deeper and the amount of goals he would have scored if he was making that late run into the box. It'd be brilliant. And I do feel bad for him because I gave him some stick today, but he's not being utilized to his strengths. And I think that's the biggest thing that we got to do. And that's my biggest worry about Emery is how can you look at a player like Ramsey and not think that putting him deep is best for everyone?
I got to agree with that. I don't, I think the evidence is there on the tape. But there you go. John, Christian Anderson asks, why do you think we seem so different when we play out from the back? We did it more or less under Wenger, but now they seem so nervous, like they overthink it. Now, we saw instances last season, just to add to that, John, where when we tried to play out the back, it was nearly disastrous at times. We just kept on playing it across the back four and playing ourselves into trouble. We seem to do that from the off today, though. What do you put it down to?
I think it's part that the players are playing a new system. They may not be in a new formation. It was 4-2-3-1, 4-3-3, essentially for most part today, which they've all played in. But the positions they've got to take up and the pressing they have to do and all those sorts of things are totally different than they've never had before, or at least didn't have under Arsene. I also think largely last season we were playing with a back three for a lot of games as well, which makes it different when you do play out from the goalkeeper at the back. You have the three centre backs, and we generally had one of the midfielders coming in to get the ball as well. And let's be honest, last season it looked like a lot of the players couldn't care less about the results the way they were playing at times. They'd kind of given up a little bit. Whereas now I think it's part of the nervousness is the excitement. It's new managers, new system and everything else. But I think a lot of players know they're playing for their place at the moment. They were very comfortable under Arsene. They knew, generally who was going to start. Everyone, Xhaka knew he'd keep his place. Özil knew if he wanted time off, he could go get time off, that kind of thing. I'm not picking on just those two, but it goes across the whole team. Everyone knew their spot was pretty secure. Now, that's not the case anymore. I think we will get there eventually, but there's always going to be mistakes with it. Like people were laughing yesterday at who's the keeper of Liverpool side? Alisson. Yeah, the Brazilian goalkeeper. You can laugh at him all you want. He's a fantastic goalkeeper. Everyone goes, "Oh, he shouldn't be coming out and doing these things with the ball and everything." And I know, like the mistake and whatever, and they got the goal, Leicester. But I watched him at Roma. He was superb all season. He's been brilliant for Brazil. He's a wonderful goalkeeper. But if you're in that position, if you make a mistake, it's going to lead to a goal. Okay, fair enough. Does that mean that then you change your entire philosophy and just boot the ball long? No. Sometimes you have to. I accept that. But no, you don't really want to change your philosophy. You want to play to your ideas. You don't. Sometimes you have to adapt for your opposition. I get that, but you want to try and do what you're doing, what your plan is, what you're teaching the players to do. And if you make mistakes, sometimes you get punished. No footballer in the world is perfect. Could you imagine? Ronaldo scores 40 goals a season. Do you imagine if he actually scored every single one of the chances he got? Yeah. He'd be getting 150 goals a year.
But John, more pertinently now, okay, then there must be some way for us to mix it up a bit, okay? So for argument's sake, I would have thought at the point where you're trying to, where you're trying to play it from the back, one of your central midfielders drops short to make an extra man, so you're able to play people, pull people out of position, and one goes a bit longer to be the out man. Okay, and we don't seem to be doing anything like that.
I mean, Guendouzi did drop in between the two centre-backs today. I'll give him that. That's what he did do well. Xhaka didn't do it enough, but Guendouzi was clearly the deeper of the two. Mm-hmm. And I do think we are lacking an out ball on a long kick. Like, Cech doesn't really have anywhere to go. When we had Sanya, we'd often kick out to him, who would be up at the halfway line. When we had Giroud, we obviously had a target. Aubameyang and Lacazette aren't going to win the ball.
Yeah, but this is the thing. With Aubameyang's pace, if you're playing long, run onto it, son. Run onto it.
That's a different kind of... Yes, but it's a different kind of goalkeeper. And if the opposition team knows how to defend, then they're going to clear it. He's not... Petr Cech is not the sort of goalkeeper who his entire career has been taught like Edison, who did that unbelievable 80-yard flat ball to Aguero to run onto to score the other week. That's just not him. You're not going to teach it to a guy who's, was he 34, 35 now? I don't know.
Isn't he?
Yeah.
Okay, right on. Jay, Loki73 asks, where is our pressing game?
I think it was there. I think it's coming in waves. It's not like a constant, like you probably currently see from that lot down the road or Liverpool or City right now. I do think it's coming in spurts, and it's going to take time to develop. I think today we saw it when it was Lacazette put in some great work, won the ball high up the pitch, was able to get an attack that eventually came to nothing. But it was it was the press. It was there, and we won the ball. And it's going to take time to develop. And it's nothing's going to click 4 games into a season. It's going to be later. It's going to be late October, November, maybe even December before all of the players completely understand what to do, when to do it, when to go, where to go, where to cover. It's going to take time. So let's it's going to be there at spurts. It's not going to be there at times right now. And we're still adapting. We're 4 games in, folks. We're 4 games in. The press is not going to be constant right now. We're still going to be a little sloppy with it. But I do think there were times in all 4 matches where we showed that we can really press you. And it's just doing that. It's learning that now consistently over 90 minutes that we've really got to start to focus on. And like I said, it's not going to be overnight. I
think the big issue maybe is that, you saw against Man City where we went as a team. Okay, you had Ramsey leading it up top. That's obviously changed since that game. But now we don't seem to be pressing as a unit. We're pressing in 1s and 2s here and there, which is difficult to see why we've gone away from pressing as one unit into 1s and 2s, where it can be effective. But if somebody plays the out ball, bang, they're on the counter, and then you're in difficulty. Dom Marble Halls TV asks, when will we get our next clean sheet? I've forgotten what it is. I've had to look it up in a dictionary to see the meaning of the word.
Next weekend. Definitely. Guaranteed clean sheet.
Because we're not playing.
You'll get clean sheets when you put them in the washer.
It's a valid point, though, isn't it? Cardiff City hasn't scored a goal all season, and yet we allow them 2 goals.
Yeah, I think that goes back to the press that that Shreds was just talking about, and I think one of the reasons that the press isn't sort of prominent the full game is, one, it's very energy intensive. It's very exhausting to do that for 90 minutes. Secondly, I don't think that many teams are trying to play through us. They're just hoofing long balls over the top, and that's actually what's catching us out. These long balls onto the flanks, and if you try to press, well, they just hoof it over the top, then your press is basically irrelevant. But I think we'll start to hopefully iron out those kinks and have some plans in place for teams that do that, because that seems to me what the answer to pressing games is right now. Is Leicester won a time doing it, so it's definitely becoming a little bit of an in vogue thing. These just getting over the top when a team's trying to press you, because if you're pressing, you've probably got a high line. And then you got some pace out on the wings, and we're not great at covering that. And I think that's where a lot of our issues come.
But we faced this issue for the past couple of seasons, okay? And Emery came here. He had very detailed files on all the players, so he's obviously watched these games. He must have seen it before, so he knows that we have been we've suffered from this for a couple of seasons now. So something they're going to have to work at quite quickly, to be honest, because it doesn't matter who the personnel are. They can change all they want. It's something we continue to suffer from, and we suffer from it quite badly. It normally leads to a goal, unfortunately.
Just in defence quickly of Emery, Jace, I heard a really good thing. I think it might have been on the Guardian podcast or the AC Jimbo one. But obviously the defence has been a problem for a long time. If you really, really wanted to fix the defence, they made a bit of a joke about it. They said, why don't you get Sam Allardyce in, right? Because what do you do when you see Sam Allardyce come into a team? He comes in, he fixes the defence and closes up shop for 10 games and keeps them up in the league.
Yeah.
But that's all he does with the team. That's it. Nothing else. Emery is trying to teach them how to defend properly, whilst teaching them how to press properly up the front, whilst playing out from the back and doing the possession and making the space and do all the attacking at the same time. You're not going to get everything perfect, especially after 4 games.
No. I think that's a fair comment. I mean, it's just, Unique 79 asks in here, I'm going to stick with you in this then, John. We've played 4 matches so far and we've conceded 8 goals. Panic stations, or should we give our defence a few more games and analyse it from there?
I think you've got to give it more time. I do think defensively, the 2 centre-backs actually look okay. From game to game, they've improved, I think. The partnership, the talking together, the communicating, I think they've got better. I do think getting in behind our fullbacks is still an issue. We're not covering them properly. And then from that, you are then getting the issue of whether it's 1 centre mid or 2 centre mids sitting in front of the back 4, whether they go out and cover the fullbacks or whether they sit and cover the centre halves. And that's where the problem lies for me at the moment in the team. That's causing the biggest issue. So I don't think it's necessarily the defence that is the big problem. It's the guys in front of them. But part of that obviously is down to sometimes the centre backs have got to say, Guendouzi, grab him, or Xhaka or Torreira or whoever it is in front of them, come back a bit. If you're Hector Bellerin, have a word with Mesut Özil or Mkhitaryan, whoever it is in front of you, pull them back. Same for Monreal, that kind of thing. So I think we need to tighten up as a unit, but obviously you're trying to get that tightness and compactness at the same time whilst pressing up the pitch, which will leave you open at the backs. So it's trying to establish that balance. So I wouldn't panic yet. If we're getting to, like Christmas time, or we're still conceding, 2 goals a game or whatever, even if we're winning them, I mean, that's great. But then I'm like, okay, it's not just the system, it's the personnel that needs to be changed.
Okay.
But I think that's going to be the case because, I mean, systems will change. Personnel won't have changed, and we were doing the same things before.
Yeah, I do think there will be, apparently we haven't got any money in January, I don't know. But I do think there will be a gradual change of the defence and who's playing in it and the guys in front of them maybe. But it will take longer than expected. But this is why at the moment I'm kind of like, if we get wins and we get in the top 4 and get that Champions League money, I really don't care. Just, we need the money to spend it so we can get the players that we need for the squad.
Well, we've got the new Emirates deal, the new Adidas deal. That'll all be kicking in soon, so there'll be money to spend there. But Champions League's massive. It does make me laugh. You had a lot of people. It's a lot of Arsenal fans laughing at Liverpool when they bought Van Dijk. And look at them now, and I don't see these people saying, "Oh yeah, I was wrong," but they haven't conceded a goal yet, and they reached Champions League finals.
Yeah, the defense got much better when they brought him in. But sometimes
I saw a lot of people being very smarmy about it, and it's the usual suspects. You just think, yeah, well done, lads. You know nothing about football. BN Josh, our Josh, he's asked a question about the state of the pitch today, and added some racist connotations in there. Well done, Josh. You're not going to read that out? You're a racist, you're a wanker. No, I'm not going to read it out because I'll slap some fucker.
Well, what we can say...
The one thing I will say about this is, what do you expect from teams? You're going to go there, they're not going to allow you to play. Yes, they will have the pitch the way they want it. Pissing and moaning about it and acting like a big girl's blouse gets you nowhere. You deal with it and you get on with it. But, 0 to 10 for racism. Josh, well done.
Just for people who obviously aren't watching live and didn't see the question in the chat box, I won't say exactly what Josh said. There's a little dig at Jason, but he may have compared a Welshman's girlfriend to a farmyard animal that perhaps might have made the
Josh won't be on the show for a while now, so don't worry about it. We chuck racists out of the box, and we'll be chucking them off the show.
He's a ginger anyway. Doesn't matter.
That's racist. That's racist. You can't be racist against gingers.
No. We treat racism very seriously at ABW. We don't put up with that shit. So, well done, Josh. You're out of here. This is quite an interesting one, Dom. Stephen Edwards asks, what would the narrative be with these results under Arsene?
It's a good question. I think that there would be a lot of negativity, especially after the first couple of weeks. And probably still more negative than positive in terms of these last two results because of the way that we're defending and because of the way that we're letting teams get at us. The difference is under Arsene Wenger last season, I was at the point where I just felt like nothing was going to change. It was going to be the same next week and the week after and the week after. And you're watching these mistakes happen. And because of, the past history with the manager, it wasn't about to change, and it didn't. The difference this time is that there is reason to be optimistic. There is reason to be kind of excited, I guess, about what will change, because I really don't think Emery's the type of manager that's going to sit back and be okay with the fact that we've conceded 8 goals so far. And he will be doing things proactively on the training pitch to stop that from happening. That's the main difference between the two managers for me that has me optimistic for the rest of the season to see how this plays out, versus last season where I was literally just waiting for the end of the season to come around, because it became very obvious that we weren't even attempting to do anything differently when we were making the same errors every week in, week out. So that, for me personally, is why I'm a little bit more optimistic. But it is a really good question, because I do feel like that is a bit of a sticky point for a lot of people, that, under Arsene Wenger, people would have been slamming these results, and under Emery, people are being a little bit more positive. But that's the reason for the positivity, I believe, is that he's not the kind of guy that's going to just do the same thing week in, week out for the rest of the season. I could be wrong, but we'll soon find out, won't we?
Yeah, I think the big thing people have got to remember is, look, Arsene's gone. That's it. I thought the message had got lost towards the end. When you've been there somewhere that long, the message gets lost. And you've got to give Emery a chance. He hasn't been there 20 years. He's been there 20 minutes. And the guy has, you've got to give it time. But, there's no point harping back to Arsene Wenger. There's no point sort of using these results or what happens to beat Arsene with a stick with. And it's no point using Arsene to beat Emery with a stick with. These are different times. Forget about it and move on. James Resnick asks, and I'm going to answer this one. Would you move Hector up further up the pitch to use his pace in wider positions? No, I think, I wouldn't do that to begin with, because I don't think he's, you need to. Emery wants all the width from your full-backs, okay? And that's how he's going to get it. I don't think he's used wingers, or effective wingers, so to speak, in his time over the last few years that I can remember. I may be wrong there, but he's going to want width from the full-backs. And, our defenders, our holding midfielders then are going to have to help out in defence. But I think, over the last few games, you've seen Hector get forward very well. We haven't seen as much from the right-hand side. I think it's the effectiveness of your full-backs is going to depend on, the Mesut Ozils, the Mkhitaryan's, the Aubameyangs, the Aaron Ramseys, and how well they link up with them. We weren't as effective this week as we were last week with Mkhitaryan on the pitch, but we'll learn on that. Last question to John. We will need a left back next year. Actually, I'm going to ask everybody this. We will. West London Goon says we will need a left back next year. Who should we sign? John first.
Oh, Jesus. Wow, you've completely done me there, Jace. I'm trying to think of one off the top of my head. Left backs. Alexandro from Juventus. I don't know. Oh, dear. I haven't had any time at all to think about it. But, yeah, I do agree we are going to need a new left back.
Jay.
Ricardo Rodriguez from AC Milan.
Okay. Dom.
I have no idea. Let's get Kieran Gibbs back. Why don't we put Carl Jenkinson out there? I mean, what's strange is that Kolasinac and Monreal are two pretty decent options at left back, but the club were definitely sniffing around for one. So I'm not sure what that means, to be honest. But
it's a good shout in the chat there, Ben Chilwell.
That'll do.
We should have got him a while ago, shouldn't we?
Well, there you go. These things happen.
One of those. Yeah, I think it's one of those, isn't it? Right, that's it. That's it for today. We're done. Thank you ever so much to everybody in the chat box. Well done. That's been brilliant. I got Tunji Samuel in there, Jalse Donko, Peter P, Thomas from Norway, Thunder Road, Rudy Rastlos, Joshua Page. Thank you all for being part of it. It's been brilliant. Again, hit the like button, please, people. Let's go. Let's please hit the like button. It's our first away win of the season. I thought we dominated, yet, it was the usual roller coaster ride. But again, let's keep our feet on the ground. This team is developing. It's going to take some time for them to gel. My thanks to Jay. Jay, nice to have you here. Nice to have you sober.
Cheers, pal. Cheers, pal. Still love you. Still love you.
Good man. Love you too, bro. My thanks to John. John, thank you very much, mate.
Thanks, Jace. It's always good talking to you.
Brilliant. My thanks to Dom. Dom, big shout out up at stupid o'clock in the morning to dish out top quality content. Well done.
The top quality content's probably we can argue that, but yeah, 5:30 a.m. You got to do what you got to do, I guess, don't you?
It's one of those. So to everybody out there, we currently have a podcast out. You have Chris. You have Raj Patel, Danny the GFP. Who else is on it?
Chris Carpenter.
My
but
brain's gone blank. I can't remember.
I know, I've got an absolute blank here. I've got an absolute blank. I'm ever so sorry. Oh, God. Who's on this week's podcast?
Oh, Simon. Simon was the other one.
Simon Collins.
Simon Collins. Lequiff was on. That's who it was.
We've got an actual qualified real journalist person on, and we
can't think of it. We can't remember who he is.
Honestly, sorry, Si, but it's a brilliant listen, and Raj Patel is stealing the show as host. It's unbelievable. He's been superb.
Yeah.
But give it a listen. It's great content from the boys. Simon, as usual, top quality. Chris is always great value for money. Danny eating bananas or doing something with bananas, and Raj hosting the hell out of it. Happy birthday, Yvonne. You each week you just amaze us with your generosity and your support, and we absolutely love you. There is a T-shirt on its way to you, Yvonne. I was going to give one away today to somebody else, but I've forgotten. So, Yvonne, if you can message me with your address, what size you want, I'm sending you a T-shirt. Happy birthday, Yvonne. Darren, thank you ever so much, mate. You're an absolute star. This week's podcast I can't remember who's going to be on it. I think I'm on it. It's Danny. I think it's Dave Goonaholic and somebody else. But, you've all been brilliant. Thank you very much. Knock this off, mate. Knock it off. Take care. Goodbye.
We'll be back after the international break. Don't forget to check out next week's podcast. And quick shout out to my favourite forehead in football, Javinho. He's alive. He only scored for Parma against
the 5 head.
Yeah, the 5 head scored, and he's got a goal before Ronaldo has. That's a way to go out.